सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहैः। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्। Okay, so we just finished. My voice is good, right? The distance. So we finished verse 16 last time of chapter 4. So whoever has the Bhagavad Gita, please open that. We finished and we're going to start on 17. But just to recap, Krishna Bhagavan was talking about action, karma, that and he said in verse 16, what is action, what is inaction? As to this, even the wise are deluded. He's just saying that how difficult this is, and that's why he was saying to Arjun in the previous verse, previous than this, that, you know, wise people have also reached the highest by following the karma yoga. So we should learn from the wise what are all these terms. So he said, therefore I shall teach you action, the nature of action and inaction, knowing which you shall be liberated from evil. Evil meaning from sansar. And if you identify with the world, that's when it becomes evil. Otherwise, there's nothing evil in the world. So now in next two verses, he's going to talk about more details of the karma. And it is going to get a little bit complicated. And Krishna Bhagavan already mentioned that it is not that easy to everybody. Have patience, but overall, you know, we got the idea, but we're going to learn. And also I want to tell you that just like any other concept, like we had talked about, hey, who is God or Shraddha or Dharma, it has a vast implication. And, you know, there are different levels of understanding. There is one meaning at the surface, and then you go a little deeper, then another meaning, go further deeper, another. All of them are correct. So our goal is to go as deep as we can. So we start with, you know, whatever we can understand. And another thing I want to tell you is that the same concept is going to be opened up much, much more in following chapters. So even if you don't understand something right now, don't get dejected. By the time we finish Bhagavad Gita, you will have a very good idea. And then we are studying Kathopanishad, which is very related. And now in Kathopanishad, very soon the teachings are going to start, you know, Brahma Vidya, which is going to be in line with what we are learning. So just keep all those factors in mind. Okay, because sometimes, you know, like different swamis bring out different points also. They may look contradictory, but they are not. If you do more deep reflection, you will see that there is a room for both of them in the whole concept. Okay? So with that, I'm going to chant verse 17. Premji, can you please mute?
Yes, I will.
Thank you. Karmano yapi bodhavyam bodhavyam cha vikarmanaha akarmanascha bodhavyam gahana karmano gatihi. Karmanaha, of right actions. So here, even though it says action, but this means right action over here. He is for, api is also, bodhavyam should be known. Another bodhavyam should be known also. Cha and vikarmanaha, of the forbidden action. Akarmanaha, of inaction. And bodhavyam should be known. So he's telling three different terms actually here. Karma, akarma or vikarma. So he's saying तीनों को समझना चाहिए. And he's saying that gahana is imponderable, difficult to understand or measure. एक और वर्ड है हिंदी में और संस्कृत में, गूढ़ जिसको बोलते हैं. It's like secretive or very deep, difficult to understand. That's the word gahana over here, because उनको भी समझना बहुत मुश्किल है, deep है. That's why you need a lot of thinking, lot of reflection. It takes a while for these concepts to sink in. Karmanaha, of action. Gati is of path. So basically he's saying that the nature of right action should be known, that of forbidden action should be known, and what is inaction should be known. And this is very difficult or deep. So now let's try to analyze a little bit. And Swamiji has a lot of different points, and some other Swamis have a few other points. So I'll bring those also, so that there'll be more clarity. So what is the connection with the previous verses? That once we learned, what are the qualities of our mind, like sattvic, tamasic, rajasic. He talked about the 4 varna. In that context, I try to understand what is my nature. So I find out what my swadharma is, what my swabhav is, and then with that, what I do is, with that, I do the karma. Okay? So, but what will be my objective of doing my karma is twofold. One is welfare of the world and the spiritual progress. That's the main thing. So that comes under that karma. Now when it says that vikarma, we had touched upon it before, forbidden actions that need to be avoided, that are kind of a hindrance in my spiritual journey. So when it comes to vikarma, everybody has to do their own thinking. What is vikarma for me? We cannot copy somebody else in that. So it's a very personal, subjective journey. So you contemplate, and then you try to stay away from the things that are taking you away from your journey. So that becomes a vikarma. That's another way of looking at it. Because if you just say vikarma, okay, don't do bad stuff and all that, but that doesn't do that much for us. So basically it is like you find out what works for you to progress, And then one very important point one Swami brought, that, and I think Joe is here, right? Joe was talking about, hey, somebody has a tamasic personality, he doesn't need to go and sattvic and all that. So let's try to understand the context over here. So we understood the 4 varnas, right? Now, the qualities in itself is not really good or bad. It's how you use it becomes good or bad. And the perfect example is that you have 2 Kshatriyas. They both have Kshatriya qualities, Arjun and Duryodhan. But you see how they used their qualities for different things, So Arjun used it for progress and doing his duties, and Duryodhan did it all for the opposite, like hurting people or being selfish and hurting the world in return. So the point that the Swami brought was, every entity on this universe has some or the other use in the world, if done correctly. So even he said poison. Poison also has a role. Okay? We might think that, hey, poison is a bad, if you want to put a bad and good label, but he's saying homeopathy medicine, they use, some arsenics and poison, they dilute it to a very high extent, and then they make a medicine out of it. So that's what we have to remember, that there is no such thing as good or bad. Good or bad is how you use your quality. So that becomes the most important thing. So from that perspective, whatever you're born with, you don't need to change it. You can just understand it and move forward after knowing all these things. I think Sneha has to mute herself. And Uma Ji also has one device that is not muted. If you can do it. Okay. So this is very important thing that we should know. And then the third thing is, what is akarma? So akarma, at a very lower level of akarma, don't do any work kind of thing. So how do we analyze that? And that the next verse is going to open it up. But for this particular verse, if you take one level of what akarma and karma is, then we can divide it into 2 different parts. One is to do action, one is not to do anything. Inactivity, like laziness type of inactivity. And one of the Swami explained that when you don't understand, the knowledge that the Shastras are trying to give you correctly, it can lead to laziness. Oh, मेरे को तो like a, क्या बोलना चाहिए, sannyas, which is not a good reason to be sannyas. Prematurely भाग जाते हैं लोग छोड़ के, मैं तो संन्यास ले रहा हूँ और वैरागी बन गया हूँ, ये वो. That's all wrong. That goes under this inactivity, becoming lazy. So misunderstanding of the true knowledge leads to laziness and things like that. Because like our teacher used to always say, if God has given you, your equipments, body, mind, intellect, use it. Even if you have to give up your sleep or whatever, if you have to do some of your duties and do some good things in life, from morning to evening, do the karma yoga, use it as much as possible. So that's what we have to remember. And then, so basically misunderstanding of these three terms leads to trouble. Okay, that's what we have to remember. So now when we read Swamiji's commentary over here, I think most of you have the book now, right? Because there's a chart over here. And what I'll do is that after this class, I will take a picture of this chart and I will send it to the people who don't have, because, it's hard to kind of comprehend this chart, if you just read it, but that's okay. Basically, as I said, that it is activity, inactivity,
Umaji, I can take a picture and send it right now to everyone.
Oh, perfect. Okay. So you can do that. So when we read Swamiji's commentary, it will open up a lot more and many different aspects of it, because he gave a long commentary over here. Okay. So who would like to read today? अनिल जी आप पढ़ेंगे? आपने पिछली बार नहीं पढ़ा था.
Okay. For verily, the true nature of right action should be known, also that of forbidden or unlawful action and of inaction. Imponderable is the nature of action.
So as I said, he mentioned three things. Action, which is like a right action, forbidden action, and inaction. Okay, now let's see what he says.
Life means activity. Where activity has ended, death has entered. In active life alone can be progress or deteriorate. A stagnant pool of water decays and soon gets putrefied, while the flowing water of a river ever keeps itself fresh, pure, and clean. Life being dynamic, it cannot, even for a moment, cease to function. Complete cessation from activities is impossible so long as life exists. Activity, therefore, is the very cornerstone of life. Since man must always actively exist all his lifetime, the entire possibilities of activities have been taken into consideration by the great seers of old in evaluating life. The accompanying chart will vividly explain their classifications.
So I wanted to bring one point, that there is actually another verse devoted to the same idea, that human being cannot live without activity. When you are dead, that's when the activity stops. And I remember, it's like a lot of us are housewives in this group. हम लोग बोलते हैं ना, हमारा काम कभी खत्म ही नहीं होता है, मरने तक हम लोग करेंगे. So it's like, that's what it is. So now the question is, okay, I have to do something. What should I be doing? What's the right action to do? So this chart and all these analysis help us to know, what to do, and help us to understand in what attitude and mode I should be doing. Those are the points that is going to be, because in the end you will see the purpose behind what I'm doing, the attitude or the motive is the most powerful thing. And that's why Krishna Bhagwan said that it is very difficult because I may not even understand, my motive may not be that great. I may be thinking, oh, I'm doing such a great job. But that spiritual understanding and clarity of all the concepts will make me do the right motive. So that's what, the point over here is. So now that chart is there, I think Neeluji may have sent it. I'm not. But maybe you can just, Anilji, just do the chart the way you want to. Explain.
Well, the chart starts with life, and in life you do activity or inactivity. So one has to constantly do activity, because inactivity, it stops right here. That means you are dead. Under activity is karma, actions to be done, and vikarma, actions to be avoided. Under karma, then there are three classifications: nitya, naimitika, and kamya. Nitya is daily duties, naimitika is duties on special occasions, and kamya is desire prompted duties.
So basically now, we all understood inactivity. You can call it laziness also. It can come under a little bit that also. And activity में karma and vikarma, everybody understood vikarma, things to be avoided. और karma में nitya, everyday duty, जो भी हम लोग का everyday काम होता है. That it includes even bathing and doing all those also comes under daily. And खाना बनाना और घर साफ करना, ये वो जो भी men, whatever duties they have, And then nemitic is special occasion. Okay, I think that there are 2, 3 or 4. Geeta ji, your thing is on. Uma ji and Sneha ne off kiya, yeah. Okay. So, nemitic is special duties. I talked about it, that if kisi ka, shadi ho, kuch ho, some special occasions or society ka kuch ho, then you do it, that also comes under your duty. And the kamya karma, desire prompted, dharma yukta desire, because we are still not all the way there. We have householders or whatever, if you have some desire to fulfill, as long as you're not hurting anybody in line with dharma, then you can do that. So that comes under karma. Okay. Go ahead.
Life is constituted of moments of activity and moments of inactivity. So Umaji, here I have a confusion here, because this line says that life is constituted of moments of activity and moments of inactivity. But in the chart it says inactivity, you are done.
Okay, so that's why I told you, जो different concepts है ना, वो आप सब समझो पहले, और फिर उसका पूरा सिंथेसिस होगा साथ में. So, मैंने बताया उसके different levels हैं. So अभी जो स्वामी जी एक्सप्लेन कर रहे हैं, वो कौन सा बात आपको समझाने वाले, आप देखना आगे आके ये 1-2 पैराग्राफ में, कि जो मनुष्य होता है ना, वो जब कर्म करता है ना, तब भी उसका प्रोग्रेस या तो प्रोग्रेस होगा या डिटीरियोरेशन होगा. और जैसे हम लोग सोए रहते हैं, कुछ भी नहीं करते हैं, उसको एक तरह से इनएक्टिविटी बोल सकते हैं, राइट? उसमें हम लोग के कुछ नीदर प्रोग्रेस होती है नॉर डिवॉल्व होते हैं हम. सो जब हम कोई एक्शन करते हैं अपने इंद्रियों से और कर्मेंद्रियों से और ज्ञानेंद्रियों से, तब कुछ होता है. That's the point he's trying to make.
Thank you. Through inactivity, neither progress nor deterioration is ever possible. Deep sleep or periods of complete cessation in existence are intervals of a total holiday from life, and they can neither make nor mar the individual's progress in his evolution.
So you understood the context now why he's saying here, okay.
Periods of activity create man. This creative period depends upon what type of activity we venture upon. According to the ancient seers, activities can be of 2 types, constructive or destructive. constructive activities which contribute towards the evolution of the individual are termed here as karma. In the ancient Vedic literature, karma had only one single connotation, as already indicated. In its Vedic meaning, karma means ritualism, actions of dedications to God or gods to be performed faithfully, following the strict instructions laid down in the text of the Vedas. This was quite acceptable in the early periods of Aryan civilization because life then was smooth and tame. But by time of the Mahabharata, political intrigues and mutual hatred, which are common in all competitive societies, had sprung upon, and therefore the members of the community has neither the patience nor the quiet leisure to enter into the elaborate ritualism of the Vedas. It is in such a situation that we find the Gita given out by Vyasa. It initiates a courageous Hindu revival in emphasis and not in any sense of the term a revolution in thought.
So, यहाँ पर I just want to bring everybody's attention to the fact that जैसे हमने बात की थी ना, वेदों में डिफरेंट सेक्शंस हैं, तो एक कर्म कांड बोलते हैं उसको, जिसमें वो सारे यज्ञ और यागा और वो सब और आपने पुराने वो कहानियां सुनी होगी, हम सभी ने सुनी है महाभारत की, रामायण की, उसमें हमेशा पुत्र कामेष्टि यज्ञ करते हैं वो लोग. When you don't have children, you do all this to all these desires that all these people had, or to win this war, or अश्वमेघ यज्ञ वगैरह वगैरह वगैरह. So वो जब सतयुग वगैरह होता था, दूसरे युग होते थे, उसमें ये सब ज़्यादा चलता था. अभी देखो कितना मुश्किल है ये सब करना. कलयुग में तो बहुत ही मुश्किल है, especially if you want to do it exactly what they are saying. We do it, but we do it like half-heartedly most of the time. So now this is what they mean. At one time when they say karma, it was always for something higher. So that meaning we have to take from here, that whatever you do is to do something higher. But then later on, even 5,000 years ago, Krishna Bhagavan said things deteriorated. Society became like selfish and all that, and a lot of difficult time, everyday duties भी लोगों की difficult हो गई, तो वो कहाँ करेंगे ये सब. तो तभी ये भगवद गीता is it's not a revolution in thought, but revolution in like how to apply this in your life. So make all the activities as yagna. And that's why they call it the yagna spirit and all that we studied in chapter 3. So that's where it is, the connection is coming, that okay, I cannot do those rituals, to make my upasana, to make my mind higher. Use my everyday activities only to go higher. I think it's a win-win situation. That's what it is.
So basically, both are a dedication to God.
Yes. So what it is that वो जब हम लोग यज्ञ करते हैं तो डेफिनेटली सबको मालूम है कि वो तो हायर के लिए करते हैं. So यहाँ पर ये कहा गया है कि तुम जो काम करते हो उसी को डेडिकेशन बना दो हायर के लिए, So that's what it is.
Krishna is advising Arjun here that in the large implications of the Vedic technique, karma need not be only ritualism, but it can bring within its embrace all dedicated activities. The catholicity of this vision of life and of the technique of self-perfection, as indicated in the Gita, has nowhere been so beautifully brought out as in this section. And this is the very reason Gita has been the unchallenged scripture of the world for such a long period of its continuous history.
So in this paragraph, he told you that, how it has expanded the whole concept of karma from only karma kand to like everything that you do. But then to do everything in that karma yoga spirit, we have to understand it very well so that we have the right motive, right understanding, and right way of doing it. So that's why these two verses are so important.
So this and knowledge goes hand in hand.
This will lead you to knowledge.
But without knowledge, you cannot do the right karma.
Yeah, and मतलब when we are talking about now, we have a two meaning of knowledge here. मैंने माना हर एक चीज का यहाँ पर बड़े बड़े implications है. एक जो आप बोल रहे हैं वो सही है, जानकारी कि मैं कैसे करूँ वगैरह वगैरह. When in Vedanta we use the word knowledge, it is आत्मज्ञान. So right now you are doing in the knowledge in the context of jankari, like information about what is right karma and what is wrong karma, right? So that's correct what you're thinking. उसके भी जब तक मैं जानूंगी नहीं तब तक मैं पहुंचूंगी नहीं. और दूसरी बात बताऊं, वो आत्मज्ञान भी जो है पहले हमको बुद्धि से समझना होगा, फिर हमको एक्सपीरियंस होगा. That's why we need to study the Shastras. That's why we need to listen to the people who have experienced it, because we talked about it that this knowledge is nobody can show you like a piece of object, oh, this is what Atmagyan is. No, it is like something, a personal journey inside. So that's why it has to be told. You have to hear it. Ya to padho ya hear karo is the same thing. When we read, it's like we are reading to ourselves and we are hearing it. That's why it's called Shravanam. So everybody knows, na, Shravanam or Shruti. That's where it's coming from, the hearing. So from that perspective, you're right that I need to understand it. Then I will go to that highest knowledge. Did I make it clear?
Yeah. Destructive activities are those that are totally condemned by the Shastras because they tend to devolve the individual, and those are termed...
Wait, where are you? I thought it's built upon the ancient Vedic doctrine. वहाँ से नहीं पढ़ना था? आपका different है?
I don't have that.
No, actually, there's one paragraph before that. So,
Before that.
Anilji is following what's in my book also.
अच्छा. So
Built upon के पहले जो paragraph है वो अभी नहीं पढ़ा गया.
वो तो पढ़ लिया इन्होंने. Krishna is advising Arjuna here that in the largest implication.
उसके बाद एक और paragraph है जो ये पढ़ रहे हैं अभी.
ओके, मेरे में थोड़ा डिफरेंट है. ठीक है, कोई बात नहीं. आप पढ़ो, आपके बुक में जो भी है पढ़ो आप.
Destructive activities are those that are totally condemned by the Shastras because they tend to devolve the individual, and those are termed in our scriptures as vikarma. The constructive activities, karma, can be of three kinds: nitya, daily duties; naimitika, special duties on special occasions; and kamya, purposeful and self-determined work to win a desirable result or reward.
Okay, so we discussed that, right? वो चार्ट वाली बात वो खोल के बोल रहे हैं. तो मेरी बुक में क्या है, ये पहले था. I was wondering कि where it was. I think they just switched it, which is okay. No big deal.
Built upon the ancient Vedic doctrine, Krishna here expounds an elaborate theory of self-development. He says that life is but a name for continuous activities. Those activities can fall within two distinct classifications as karma and vikarma. Lord Krishna's advice to Arjuna is to avoid the forbidden actions, vikarma, and to pursue the constructive and creative activities of self-development, karma. In this scientific analysis, without any formality or mental reservation, Krishna totally rejects inactivities or karma.
So यहाँ पर जो inactivity बोला है ना, उसका मतलब laziness है. और उसको अकर्म बोला है इस वर्स में. नेक्स्ट वर्स में जो अकर्म होएगा उसका मीनिंग टोटली डिफरेंट है. ओके, सो इसका मच डीपर मीनिंग है. बट टू अंडरस्टैंड इट, हाँ बोलिए.
Actually, I had a lot of difficulty inactivity and unactivity,
So
but
basic,
I understand.
हाँ.
It will come out.
It will. And I tell you, when I first did that, we had to read it so many times. We had to discuss so many times. And Bhagavad Gita is such, जितना बार आप पढ़ेंगे ना, और किसी स्वामी कोई एक हायर सोल की कमेंट्री लेके उतना वो आपके डीप में जाएगा. So don't get kind of dejected with if you don't understand this in the first shot. Nobody did. Krishna Bhagwan ने क्या बोला? गहन and it's difficult to understand. उन्होंने पहले ही warn कर दिया सभी को. So that's why just have patience and it will happen. You know,
but
definitely.
I have a comment. Laziness is also is an action.
True. But what I'm saying is he's going step by step.
Yeah, I know.
In this context, he's just saying akarma is laziness. But what Joe is saying that will come in the next verse, that when you say I'm not doing anything, you are doing karma.
Yeah.
And akarma is only when you are when you know that you are not a doer. जो हमने पढ़ा ना पूरा वो not a doer means मैं कुछ नहीं करता प्रकृति करती है उसको ट्रू में अकर्म बोलते हैं. But in this particular commentary of Swamiji, this inactivity means laziness for right now. That's all.
Umaji, can I ask?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, you had Meenaj, I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to ask. There's a little bit of confusion in my mind as to karma. Even our thoughts, they are also karmas, isn't it?
Yes. Karma can happen at mind level, physical
mind
level, speech level.
Right. Are we talking about here the physical level only, or are we talking about both, or what?
Right now, in this particular verse, in this commentary of Swamiji, he is more talking about the physical. True. And he will open it up more in the next. And some of the Swamis, in fact, you will see that next verse only he will tell you that, hey, some people think that this is non-doer. You can take both meanings and both are appropriate. But eventually we do have to understand the akarma at a deeper level for our spiritual progress. For sure.
Thanks.
But could you also say akarma as deliberately not engaging in activity?
Yes, that's what he's talking about, the laziness part.
Right. You know that you should be doing something, but you just don't know.
Right. And you know, in Bhagavad Gita, they open it up like why people do that. Because it's like उसको ना एक और word है प्रमाद करके बोलते हैं. It's like a spiritual tamas. You know, मेरे को पता है कि फिर भी, you know, just can't do it. You know, true.
There are commentators who have considered a karma as the state of actionlessness, selfhood. It was already said that the Lord is a non-doer. This interpretation seems to be more acceptable in the light of how the term karma is employed in the next verse 4.18. This we consider a karma to mean unactivity, the state of sattvic peace and joy.
ये उन्होंने ऑलरेडी बोल दिया जो आपको और इनको हो रहा था ना कि पहले वाले पैराग्राफ में he the connotation was laziness, but then he immediately said that, you know, some commentators say that this is the actionlessness, selfhood means I'm a non-doer, वो वाला कर्म है और next verse में वही meaning आने वाला है. Okay, so that's okay too. If somebody wants to right now go deep into the meaning, perfectly fine. You can call a karma as that one over here. You know, that's also fine.
It is necessary, it is said here, that a true seeker who is trying to live a diligent life, contributing to his material progress and to his spiritual self-development, must necessarily know this triple classification of life considered as a bundle of activities.
So basically he's saying that this knowing these three different things will help us progress.
Even after so beautifully defining the three clear and distinct classifications, Krishna admits that for an ordinary man it is not easy to distinguish the one from the other and to readily and successfully classify all his activities under these three headings, because Krishna says the nature of karma is imponderable.
So see how he said कि हम लोग सोचते हैं, जैसे हम लोग आपने जो बोला वो बात है ना कि ओ अब मैंने ना सारी एक्टिविटीज बंद कर दी है जी, मैं तो एकदम वैरागी बन गई हूँ और समथिंग लाइक दैट। कितना सुनने में अच्छा लगता है ना, पायस, बट आई मे बी टोटली क्वालिफाइंग इट रॉन्ग। दैट्स व्हाट इट इज। या कोई एकदम डीप मेडिटेशन में बैठा है, सो दिस व्हाट मीना जी एंड जो वाज सेइंग, ओ आई एम नॉट डूइंग एनीथिंग, बट उसका माइंड चल रहा है, ही इज डूइंग कर्मा 100%, इवन तो फिजिकली वो एकदम बुद्धा दिखाई दे रहा है, but he's in action right now. So those kind of things, that's why it is so difficult to qualify. So, but as we go deeper and deeper, it will get clearer and clearer, and then we will be able to recognize a little bit further.
So I have a question, Umaji. When it says we consider a karma to mean unactivity, the state of sattvic peace and joy, is that deep meditation?
Well, it is see, एक बोला inactivity और एक बोला unactivity.
हाँ,
तो
इसीलिए
inactivity laziness बोल दिया, और
है,
unactivity जब सत्व ज्यादा होता है ना, तो हम लोग का we are ready to receive the knowledge, it's मन quiet है, calm है and all that, so that is a higher state. So what is your question?
In that case, unactivity means something that leads to joy and peace.
Yes.
And it could mean deep meditation.
Yes, it
Whereas
could mean deep,
inactivity
yes.
is being lazy or not doing.
Yes, true.
Doing
Yeah,
any work.
correct.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, that analysis is correct. Yeah.
Thank you.
In this statement lies the secret suggestion that an action is to be evaluated not merely on its face value, but after a sincere consideration of the underlying motive. If the motive or desire or intention of one is pure and constructive, then the action too is noble and meritorious for that particular individual. Since in this evaluation of actions, the individual factor is so very important, one must agree with Krishna over the imponderability of the nature of karma.
So you can see that he's saying that secret suggestion is, which we already discussed, that your motive behind, your intention behind, desire and all those things are the most important actually. And to know that, because sometimes intellectually we get convinced कि हमारा motive तो बहुत अच्छा है, मगर होगा नहीं, हम लोग justify करेंगे. मैंने तो इतना भी सुना है कि वो कृष्ण भगवान ने जो किया ना, मतलब अर्जुन को एडवाइस दी थी कुछ करने के लिए, वो कृष्ण भगवान ने भी तो छल किया था, तो मैं क्यों नहीं करूं? पीपल ऐसे भी जस्टिफाई करते, पता नहीं क्या क्या करके जस्टिफाई कर लेते. दैट्स द डेंजर, that more and more clarity is needed, and that's why we need to go through Bhagavad Gita completely one time at least, because then the relationship between different things will get more and more clear.
I see a very good example of this in our Kathopanishad, where Nichiketa's father is donating, वो गौदान और क्या क्या कर रहे हैं, बड़े अच्छे कर्म seemingly,
yes,
जो कि सोचेगा कोई, लेकिन the motive, underlying motive is not good, which is why Nichiketa is so trying to redeem his father.
Yeah.
So I think that's an excellent example of this.
Very good observation. Yeah. That's exactly what he's talking about with the intention and all that. Or donation का भी, some people, oh, they did so much money, but उनका main था कि उनका नाम हो हर जगह, उनका ये हो वो हो. और फिर किसी ने बोला कि पहले खूब सारा, जैसे इंडिया में होते हैं ना ब्लैक मनी, अभी तो there is like going different way, but एक सबको मालूम है यहाँ पर काला पैसा किसको बोलते हैं. पहले तो खूब काला पैसा बना दिया, now I'm donating, see, but उसका जो source है वही गलत है, तो फिर see कितना हो सकता है. It's really complicated, किसके मन के भीतर क्या चल रहा है, so. और अनिल जी, आपका कुछ प्रश्न था?
Is it also true that to reach the state of unkarma, you have to be totally desireless?
True.
That's when.
Yeah, next verse में वो explain करेंगे, because see, one of the Swamis, he explained very well, जो अकर्म मोड है ना, कोई एक्चुअली में पहुंच गया अकर्म मोड में, वो रियलाइज्ड है एक्चुअली. तो जो हम लोग ने लक्षण ऑफ रियलाइज पर्सन पढ़े थे चैप्टर 2 में, अभी इसमें भी आएंगे, और आफ्टर 18th verse, next 6 verses are lakshan of the realized person. Well, how does he behave and all that? He will give some more tips. So what you're saying is absolutely true. That's what it means. जो एकदम अक्कर मोड में चला गया, he understands it completely, what Brahman is, and that he is that Atma, he is that Brahman, and whatever is happening is at a Prakriti level is happening. We are just instruments, nothing more.
In a karma mode, you are unaffected by the action.
Yeah.
So completely.
So that's why moksha mil gaya na. What is the meaning of moksha? हम लोग कहते हैं वो we have to कहाँ पहुँच गए, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. Freedom from bondage. It's moksha. Bondage with what? Bondage with, like जो हम लोग को कर्म बांध के रखते हैं, fruit of action, मुझे ये चाहिए, मुझे वो चाहिए, तो वो desirelessness हो गई ना. He is just working as an instrument of God for the benefit of the whole world. He already got what he needed. He's just helping other people. So that's why he has no desire of his own.
And at that stage, whatever is the result does not affect him at all.
No, it does not affect him at all. He's not concerned with the result.
Right.
He's not concerned with the result. Because those are what we call result. If you really think about it, those are just worldly things.
Yeah.
Can
Right?
you please define bondage?
Bondage is when my mind feels bound. By what? Bound can be attachments. What are the attachments? And Swamiji's definition of attachment is I plus I want. So if I means ego, me, this limited thing, now I want something. So that becomes bondage. And it could be physical things in the world. It could be mental things, like attachment can take different forms. Like I'm attached, with my son. When he leaves, I feel upset. That also comes under all that. So attachment can be take many different forms. You can be attached to your job, house, your car, those are physical things. But hey, I want somebody to behave in a certain way. Or constantly judging people is a. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Umaji, isn't moksha also another interpretation of freedom from the cycle of life and death?
So why would freedom from this earth? That's a very good thing, Asha ji. So आप बताइए कि freedom of life and death कब मिलेगा हमें?
हाँ नहीं, मोक्षा का एक इंटरप्रिटेशन ये नहीं है.
वही है ना कि मतलब मुझे कुछ चाहिए ही नहीं, तो फिर मुझे संसार में आने की जरूरत क्या है? I'm merged. छूट गया ना?
बिल्कुल ठीक है.
हाँ, that's the connection. So the word they use for different words are there. Moksha, liberation, nirvana. All that means the exactly same thing.
Yes.
But in the most simple language, we say freedom from bondage is moksha.
Okay.
Also, I sent one talk. I don't know if I sent or not, but this is the talk on Maya by Sir Priyananda.
I think you did send it. Unfortunately, I have not seen because my other project is getting too
There are
heavy
7
right now.
aspects of this Maya. And then when you remove those, then the bondage is gone.
Okay.
So that covers everything. In fact, it's so amazing. And the first one is fear of death. We all know we are going to die, but we are afraid of it.
See, whatever you are saying, it all comes with the attachment to the body.
Yeah.
Because fear of death kab hoga? When you're attached to the body. See, those people who have gone in the other realm and come back, those people who have near-death experience, they have no fear of death. Absolutely. That's the first thing that goes.
Or it can be told to you when you'll die, then you don't have any fear of death.
No, then you may not have, other people may वो सारा time घड़ी देखता रहेगा.
फिर तो और भी डर.
Yeah. That has nothing to do with fear of death has something to do with your understanding of what Brahman and what you are, and you are that Brahman.
No, if you believe that what you are told is right, that you're not going to die now.
Yeah, but you're not understanding. The guy will be रोज मरेगा वो. If you don't have the knowledge, that can be, in fact, it can be very bad. मैं तो बोलती हूँ कि if you're not ready for it, don't go to a fortune person and ask for your future because you may not have the capacity to handle it. उसने सच बोल दिया तो.
For your spiritual progress, one of the essential ingredient is to have no fear of death.
I know, but it is a side effect of this knowledge. Once you have the knowledge of who you are, then only you will have true fearlessness. Uske pehle it will be just a pretense that I'm not scared.
You get fearlessness and then you start to move progress.
I think it is the ulta. That's how I look at it. If I say, oh, I should become fearless today, I don't know how to become fearless. But with the knowledge, it's something like, okay, I'm seeing a dream. And in the dream, something horrible is happening. You know, I'm dying, or I have a disease, or somebody's hurting me, and I'm so upset. When will I actually come out of that fear? When I wake up. That's the analogy that, you know, wake up is connecting to something higher. You know. Anyway, it can be both ways. It depends on your own mind how you want to catch it. You know, so whatever you're saying, if that's what makes you feel like, then it's also fine. So any other question on this this whatever we studied so far in the verse 17? Sushilji, you have a question?
Not a question, but just we need to understand what bondage is.